Hello everyone, this is Shane Coughlin. I'm going to start sharing my screen so that we have a clear picture of what we're doing today. The first thing I'd like to say is thank you to everyone for making time. It's great to have you here. We're going to have a relatively short meeting today, so that we Oh, hey Armine, welcome on board.
Hi, good morning, Shane.
Hello all. We currently have 9 participants on the call. We do expect a few more. So what I'm going to do is move us into the first slide, which is the antitrust policy notice, and just keep that up on the screen as we load in our additional participants. For those of you who are new to OpenChain, welcome. For those of you who are not, great to have you back. This is the second OpenChain Germany workgroup meeting. We had the first one in February before the world fell apart. And now we're having the second one as the world picks itself up again. Yeah. I was just talking with Miriam earlier today. We were recording an interview for the forthcoming Open Source Summit North America. There will be an OpenChain mini summit there. And Miriam noted that Germany had reached a sort of a tipping point similar to Japan, where the crisis in terms of business activity was very severe until about the May period, when companies saw a path through it and began to return to more or less normal scheduling. Alrighty. So because time is a little tight today, what I'll do is I'll start running through the slides and where we're going. At any time.
Hi, this is Miriam.
Miriam, welcome. At any time, just jump in with comments or questions. Super welcome. My goal here is to give you some updates, ask a few questions, and then provide some market insights that can be useful for your business. To get started with the news, our update on the ISO front is that according to the ISO database, the OpenChain standard is expected to have completed the balloting process on September 22nd. This should mean that our ISO process will be complete in Q3. We have no reason to believe that that would be further delayed. Everything appears to be on track. You might recall that originally we hoped to be an ISO standard in Q2, but of course we are at the mercy of the ISO organization scheduling, and this is what they gave us, which is fine. We're in a period where we're preparing materials, especially for areas like procurement and sales departments, to get ready for September 22nd. The key thing to take away is that OpenChain as an ISO standard on September 22nd is functionally identical to OpenChain 2.0, our current standard. So every organization that is OpenChain 2.0 conformant will automatically be conformant to the ISO standard. We expect, of course, that after we have the ISO standard granted, first of all, people will always be able to get access to the standard for free on the OpenChain website. Second of all, we will continue to have and support the free self-certification web app and handout documents on our website. And thirdly, we're going to have a situation where we do expect to have substantial increases in reference material so that people learning about the ISO standard, maybe even unfamiliar with open source, can easily adopt. Big date though, September 22nd, that's the time to get ready for OpenChain as an ISO number in procurement discussions. So for bill of materials, a lot is happening. OpenChain is the first ISO standard from Linux Foundation and Joint Development Foundation. SPDX, the software bill of materials, is likely to be the second. SPDX has continually gained traction over the last 10 years, most recently in areas beyond open source compliance, in areas like security. So with the US government agency, NTIA, the telecommunications agency, SPDX is part of their discussion and activities for software bill of materials in the future. Naturally, SPDX and OpenChain go together very well, and Naturally, as SPDX also becomes an ISO standard, you can expect the OpenChain community to have plenty of supportive reference material. Long story short, Sulfur Bill of Materials is growing up. There are two standards in the market today, SWID and SPDX. SPDX is the one that has the most market traction at this date, and it's the one where the majority of companies doing Sulfur Bill of Materials in OpenChain, they're using SPDX. You can expect further, I think, adoption of SPDX as government agencies in the US, in Japan, in Europe, become more familiar with it. And certainly after it's an ISO standard, a lot will happen there. Reference tooling. This is actually where I wanted to kind of throw open things to the crowd. I know that the reference tooling work group for OpenChain has been meeting bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks there's been a meeting. They've had explorations of topics like container compliance. They've had in-depth analysis of various tools. And I wanted to float a question because a lot of the tooling community is from Germany. It's part of the German work group as well. I wanted to check with people about whether example tool chains are on the near horizon. And I'm asking this because a lot of people in Asia and quite a few companies in North America have mentioned that they're really interested in examples of reference tooling. So examples of tooling applied. And I wanted to check where we are with case studies and so on. If anyone is on the call from the tooling work group, if you could give us a brief insight, that would be super great. Oh, and just so you note, you're automatically muted, so you might have to unmute yourself.
Hello, Max Brito from Electrobit. So maybe I can share some insights about the tooling chain that we are using ourselves. Electrobit is part of Continental, which I think everyone knows from their car brands, but it's quite a big company with more than 70,000 people. And over here, we have the privilege to be enjoying most of the tools available on the market. So going from BlackDuck to FlexNet, to Fossology, to TripleCheck, and now more recently to SW360. In that topic, we are moving ourselves more to an open data kind of model, meaning that we are building our own archive of items that we can also one day hopefully share to the public. And you know, there are some initiatives to do this, and we would like to be part of it as well. This year, we've been focusing a lot on SW360 with the combo of Fossology behind it. We are also working with Michel Jäger on making sure that it's ready for more companies to adopt it. So one of the things that we saw that was lacking was an API client that could talk to SW360 because we need to bridge our data to their platform, meaning that we have our toolings that are very useful to generate documentation, to gather sources, to be placed next to the source code because we are documenting the source code deliveries as well. So if you have a Git repository, we include a folder that has all the legal documentation as you would expect. But this is lacking on SW360 and Fossology and the other tools. So we are building ourselves the tooling for that, and we will be contributing this to the public, just for your information. So being able to help other companies that need a library to talk to SW360 in Java, for example, and they can do it more easily. And we will be providing not just the library, but also what we call the glue code to actually connect these tools that we are also using inside. Basically to synchronize it on both ways. And I think that's it, not to take too long on this call.
No, that's fantastic. So that means that, if I understand correctly, you would be able to contribute the glue code, the Java interconnect, SW360, Fossology, so that people would quickly be able to use that for testing and so on in their internal business.
Exactly, because many customers, they have their own specific requests in regards to documentation. So how they want the bill of materials, how they want the notice files. And this is not always easy. SW360 is not made for that. So it's easy for us to connect there, get the data we want, and then produce the documents as we need.
I think this could be tremendously useful, Max. So one thing that comes up a lot is that people have many different solutions. So there'll never be one reference toolchain. But example toolchains, especially tangible stuff, whether just documented or actually people can get the code, and if they got it in the container, they could double click it. Those things are super useful. A lot of the companies that we meet in Asia are saying that, for example, they've traditionally purchased tooling from a vendor, but they'd love to try open source tooling, but they don't have the capacity to go from downloading off the Fossology site into implementation on their side. They just don't have that extra bandwidth. So examples like this will be very important. I noticed
question here. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Did you just to the one from the colleague from Electrobit? Did you have a look already into Software 360 antenna?
Yes, we did, but we are a bit more specific. We had a presentation in Brussels with an antenna, so we were looking at it. But in the end, we will still like to handle the data ourselves because we have a huge archive on our side, and we need to build these bridges. So we are not going to stop using the other tooling that we have, the proprietary one, and somehow we need to build a synchronization model between them.
Okay, I didn't get the difference there because that's what we're using it as well here internally. So perhaps we can have a follow-up on this again.
Yes, then I can show you in more detail where it's a bit different. So
yeah,
in our case, the most important thing is really the documentation on source code level, which is really a must for us.
Yeah, that's for us as well.
Okay. Okay, let's talk then.
Yeah.
I would also like to see your thoughts about this.
May I ask also a question, Max? Do you have a plan when you will make this available on a source compliant license? Your implementation.
So in principle, it will be under the Apache license. Everything that we do, so as straightforward as possible. And we have the resources on our side. So we have a team of developers that can help and are helping on this. And as soon as it's ready, I would estimate, let's say 2 months from now, you should already see the stable implementations available.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic.
Great.
Oliver, hypothetically, do you think we could have a bake-off with a few of the different people in the tooling group with just examples that we could take to market? I mean, if hypothetically Max's team are ready in about 2 months, that kind of puts us in September, so it's perfect timing for ISO. And if we had a couple more examples, like how to do ORT, these might be really useful. Could the tooling work group maybe look at having an outcome in about 3 months for a couple of these, or would that be burdensome? Oh, I don't know what's happening there. I think you're breaking up.
I don't know. My connection is a little bit has bad quality, but nevertheless, I think it might make really sense that Max, if he's 2 volunteers, does a presentation in one of our Wednesday meetings, so that the others have a clue what he is going to work on and what he's going to implement, or him. And then it could be also that double work can be avoided because others might have the same plan and then can concentrate on other things.
That sounds fantastic.
Sounds great, yeah.
So I will follow up to you, Max, per email when there's a convenient day for you to give such kind of more detailed presentation to the group.
I think the next meeting is July 1st, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but there we have a presentation already, which shows Fossology and CI/CD pipeline integrated.
Nice. It's fantastic how the tooling group has been meeting every 2 weeks. There's a lot of material there.
Yeah, It's quite
You don't sound
quite good.
And speaking of interesting material, I'll pause here. If anyone else has something about tooling, just let me know right now. Okay, so the next part of our call is going to be Chatham House. So this part will not go on the video recording. So everyone, moving on, it's any other business time. I'm going to pause and see if anyone else has other business before bringing up one or two informal topics of my own. All right. So one point of further business I wanted to mention is that because the OpenChain standard will be graduating from ISO on September 22nd, I want to propose that we have an OpenChain Germany meeting in early September to provide you with the latest information, updates, and support documentation ahead of the ISO standard. In principle, does that work for you? If you have any objections, please let me know now. All right, next meeting will be early September. Oh, Oliver, you're unmuted. Hi.
Hi. No, I only wanted to say that's fine for me. No.
Perfect. I'll try to foster a situation where we have some key materials in German available so that sales and procurement departments will be supportable, even if they don't have engagement with our community.
We'll still change one question. Will we still plan for a virtual meeting, or are we already considering a live meeting?
Well, I know Germany is doing very well with the situation, and Japan is too. I think we have to wait until August and make a call. If it can be physical, that's fantastic. I have a doubt that any international travel will happen, so I'll be virtual. But inside Germany, if travel is okay, that would be great.
I mean, it's just a question here in the round of all the German participants. If we would consider a live meeting, we should, just in case, think about room reservations already. I mean, they could still be cancelled. Just a thought, but I mean, perhaps September is too early, I don't know.
Yeah, I like your optimism, but I wouldn't join in September physically. I think we will see some second wave things after the holiday season.
Me too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay,
Yeah.
we are virtual. Yeah, virtual can work. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, in Japan, we're still very much social distancing, even though cases are pretty low. And we've seen in China, they've had 2 returns of the disease quickly stopped. We've seen America now has, for the second day in a row, set records for the amount of infections in the second wave there. It's certainly not an easy virus to put down. All right. The other item is OpenChain will be spending some marketing budget, extra marketing budget because of the ISO standard. And we really want to create a situation where your supply chains can move towards engagement with OpenChain. So I wanted to check if you could tell me what documentation would be most useful. And I'll just give you an example of 3 things. We already have a translation of the specification, and that's useful for people wanting to get the full context of the standard, but it's not really something for implementation. So 3 documents that seemed potentially useful for conformance would be: 1, we have a supplier education leaflet, which basically explains open source for companies. And the idea is that I think it's about 12 or 14 pages. It helps you understand what open source is and why open source governance is important and how that works. This document came from Japan. It's in English, it's in Chinese, simplified, traditional, it's in Korean. We can translate it into German. Another document. Oh, hi, Stefan. Yeah.
Hi. The supplier leaflet translation is still
pretty pre-final, as I mentioned in February in Nuremberg. And unfortunately, we did not have any progress since then, just due to the Corona crisis. But it's still in a pretty pre-final status. So it's almost done. Still almost done.
If we had some volunteers, we could get some support for you and your team. What do you think?
Yeah, should not be much more work to do. It's just some final review and some formatting work, and then all should be fine.
Wonderful. That's exciting. The other document I wanted to bring up, it's going to be released very soon. We have a procurement document, and some people like Marcel at PwC also helped contribute to it. That procurement document is designed for procurement departments to get context on OpenChain. That's another good candidate for translation, because you can hand it to your suppliers' sales departments after handing it to your own procurement department, and it can flow down with the supplier leaflet. The third item, which might be useful, would be to actually have the conformance self-certification questionnaire in German, so that people can sit down with their team and go through the checkboxes, or they can click on the web app and go through the digital checkboxes and see where they're at. So I wanted to check, if we have the supplier leaflet, if we have the procurement department briefing, if we have the conformance questionnaire, is that enough in German to get us started with increased market adoption in your supply chain? Or do we need other material to get that process working, in your view?
Again, one note from my side, Co-News from DB Systems started an initiative after the first meeting in translating the policy template. We're currently working on that. We're done with the first translation, and we're currently just reviewing the first round of translation on a weekly basis currently now. But we're near having a broader call for review or call for participation to get this done. So again, it's almost done and just waiting for final review.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. So everyone else, do you have any comments or suggestions or questions?
Yeah, I have one hint.
Go ahead.
There was this OSADL sessions this week, I think. I didn't participate personally, but I heard that on Monday there was also presented a policy template from OSADL. So I don't know whom of us has further contacted them, but I would really appreciate that. We do not have different forks, but perhaps we can somehow also harmonize those activities. I don't know. Does anyone have more detailed information about that? Did someone participate in that?
So I had the pleasure to have their talk on Wednesday. As far as I understood, so I did not listen, or was not able to listen to the policy document talk. But as far as I understood, Carsten, he said that everybody who was signed in during this talk has at least the document, but he was not, so there is not yet decided on a license, as far as I remember his talk, decided on a license for the policy document. So I do not know whether it can be circulated in this group from a license compliance point of view. But what I can do is I can ask Carsten whether for him or for the copyright owners, it would be okay to circulate this in this group.
Yeah, I participated in the presentation actually, so I saw it, and it's I think it's quite good work they did. They put in quite some work in making this template flexible and quite complete. But the problem is that they didn't decide about a license, and they said it's only to be shared between the participants. So we would have to ask for permission to share it more broadly. And I think it would be great if we can somehow make one effort out of these policy templates and not have parallel efforts going on.
Of course, I agree.
Miriam, I think you had a note as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually more of a question. So the questionnaire is going to be in German, fine. The app as well?
Yeah, we can easily do that. If we essentially translate the strings, then the app can be in German. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I would be worried about there, because we always decided against having that in German, because the moment you actually translate it, you'll be, well, let's say targeting the German market more, or visibly targeting the German market more, which may create issues with the website compliance. So like imprint and information like that may need to be added, and, you know, translations for like privacy policies and things like that. I don't know if you really want to get into that. I just wanted to flag it early.
Sounds like we might need to use Swiss German.
I don't know if that counts.
No, that's a good point. So yeah, let's get that clarified. If we had to make major changes to the website, that would certainly be a pain. Yeah, that's a good point, Miriam. Thank you. So for the policy template, for people who don't know it, OpenChain has a policy template contributed by a UK law firm that they were using with clients for about a year and a half, and then they sent it to us. They give it to us under CC0 or public domain. So it fits into our reference library. Everything there is CC0. You can use it with no restriction, no attribution, nothing. The policy template is an Excel file, and essentially it's kind of Lego with policy components. So you can make a written policy filling out the areas you want very quickly. It's contextualized. You can go, yes, I want this point, I want that point, I want this point. Here's example language. Okay, I'm done. So it's a pretty effective tool. It's not intended to replace lawyers. It's intended to be a situation where your counsel can use the policy template as a very quick shortcut to creating a policy that is in sync with what we see across the industry. So I'd be curious to see what OSADL has. For OpenChain Project, they'd need to have it under CC0 for us to merge it into our official channel. Let's see. Let's open the dialogue. Oliver, are you okay to have a chat with Carsten, or would you like me to go direct?
Yes, I will get about that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I think that's all of the major items. Is there any other business? All right. If there's no other business, we are finishing on time, a couple of minutes ahead. Thank you everyone for dialing in. Second meeting of German Workgroup. We will have the third meeting early September. It looks like it will be a virtual meeting. In between now and that time, you can expect the material we spoke about in German to be made available. Let's try to work together on the community side with the policy template, with the supplier leaflet, to collaborate with Stefan and his team and get those to market. I'll take responsibility for getting the translation activity underway on the procurement document and our conformance questionnaire. That's it. Thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to being an ISO standard, looking forward to collaborating with you all as we really push up adoption in the final quarter of the year. Stay safe, stay well, and talk to you soon.